Thank you so much for coming to our high-tech, low-tech caregiving products and solutions webinar today. And you have the Pam team today. I am Pam Edgar.
Parapams.
Power Pams. I'm Pam Edgar, the Director of Education at CaringKind, and we have Pam Atwood here as a guest. I'm going to introduce her formally in just a moment. But we want to share a little bit about CaringKind for those of you who are not familiar with us. We are one of the country's oldest non-for-profit charities focused on providing care and support for families impacted by Alzheimer's and other dementias. Throughout our 45-plus year history, we have been one of the leading community-based organizations in the field, focusing on providing direct services and supports for individuals and families living with Alzheimer's and other dementias. We continue to launch new programs based on evidence-based care and innovation in the dementia field. We are based in New York City and have a national reach through virtual programs and services. At CaringKind, we serve the full spectrum of people that are touched by Alzheimer's disease and their families, as you see here. We do this through offerings, services, educational programs for individuals with Alzheimer's or any form of dementia, family members, partners, friends providing care or support, healthcare professionals, direct care staff, aides, and service providers needing dementia training and coaching, residential community and cultural organizations needing training or who just want to be more dementia friendly to build their capacity to serve those living with dementia and their families. And you can see a quick overview of the types of programs and services we provide. We do this through one-on-one sessions, small group programs, education seminars and webinars, trainings, and special events. We offer programs in different languages and in particular cultural communities. And thanks to our donors, supporters, and robust fundraising efforts, we're able to provide these services free of charge to individuals and families. We have a few upcoming seminars that you can always find on our education calendar. You see here, caringkind.org, and we'll put some links in the chat as we continue as well. We have family education seminars, legal and financial considerations, and understanding Medicaid every month. We also have other programs like the one today. We also have understanding emotions and communication with Stephanie Shivers that will be on March 18th, and we invite you to return for that as well. We also have social engagement opportunities, which you can see on our calendar here. We have those every month, like baseball memories, virtual Connect to cafes. And so we hope that you'll stay connected with us in those ways as well. And we'll get started in just a moment. We want to let you know that the slides and recordings will be available after the lecture today. So watch out for our monthly emails. We will ask to save questions until the end today. But you can put questions in the chat at any time as they arise. And after the speaker finishes, you can turn on your video, raise your hand virtually or in person, and we'll just need you to click unmute to unmute yourself to be able to speak. And as we move to introducing Pam, we do ask you to stay on mute at this time. And when we are done with the presentation, we will open it up so you can see each other's videos. You're welcome to go on video at that time, and we'll open it up for some group discussion. Okay. And so again, hello and welcome to High Tech, Low Tech Caregiving Products and Solutions. I'm Pam Edgar, Director of Education at CaringKind, and I'm thrilled to introduce to you Pam Atwood. Pam is a gerontologist, a psychotherapist, dementia specialist, and author. She has more than 30 years of experience working with older adults and people with dementia in residential, community, and home-based services. Pam is a seasoned educator and certified trainer for the National Council of Certified Dementia Practitioners. She's also a certified laughter therapist. So welcome, Pam. We're so happy you're here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Pam. And I will start sharing mine. I'm so glad to be doing this. I had a caregiving opportunity. Let's see here. I want to do slideshow from current slide. There we go. Um, a caregiving opportunity this past year for my mom. And ever since then, I realized just how overwhelming and confusing this space can be. You know, that there is a lot of resources out there, and sometimes we know about things like durable medical equipment. And sometimes an occupational therapist or a physical therapist can come out and say, oh, well, why don't you try something like this? And I'll think, oh my gosh, I've been in this business 35 years. Why didn't I think of that? I'm going to start by saying I know that there are things that I have not covered yet in this presentation. So I am sure a lot of the people who are on the call with us today could add things. And maybe if you have, as I'm going through this and you think, oh, this is a great resource, we'll make time for it in the Q&A section at the end. But this is really, just a way to start your search on making caregiving and the task of being a caregiver a little bit easier. Why is it hard? Obviously, we know. Physically demanding. I can't tell you how many caregivers, professional and family, end up hurting their back, end up, you know, um, falling because they were carrying too many things and trying to get to their loved one before they fell, those kinds of things. It's also emotionally difficult, changing relationships. It's financially stressful. And there are all of these programs, right? Medicare, Medicaid, and I still have families who will kind of use those interchangeably, and they're totally separate programs. And they all come with these ridiculous amounts of paperwork. It's stress, it's loss, it's burden, and it can also be without support, burnout, and compassion fatigue. So, our goal today is really to kind of try to help people to both improve safety so that you can kind of rest assured. I want you to be looking for things in your home that you can, or if you're a professional in your clients' homes, what are some of the things we can do to make an Alzheimer's prepared environment? There's a great old book called Alzheimer's Proofing Your Home, and I forgot his first name. Warner is the last name. It's probably over here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I still don't remember. It's called The Complete Guide to Alzheimer's Proofing Your Home, and that's what we used kind of back in the 90s. God, I can't believe it was 25 years, maybe even 30 years ago now. But it was the ultimate resource back in the day. Now we've got, you know, all of these resources online, and we can just, take some of the words from today and throw them into our favorite search engine, and all of a sudden have a ton of resources. We're also going to talk about solutions to make the actual task of caring easier so that you can preserve your own physical health. And at the end, I will also provide resources, both for activity and entertainment, kind of engagement, I'm calling it, so that you can really create moments of joy because they are there and possible. Let me define or describe a little bit about how I thought about the different categories. So high tech for today's purposes is requiring specific electronic equipment with installation and online applications or a digital interface. But it also has, as complicated as that sounds, high satisfaction. So these are some really cool things that are available out there that'll make things much easier. Low tech requiring a little installation, but specific equipment or resource connections like a company referral. I liken the two differences, and we put this on the original flyer. It's the difference between a lot of little stickies and your cell phone. So high tech is your cell phone and all of the things that it can do to remind you, and low tech is the stickies. I also found in doing this that there was some pieces that didn't quite fit in either. So I came up with mid tech. So it either requires equipment that needs to be installed that isn't really tech, or requires an interface with equipment that isn't complicated, but it may not be obviously available to everyone. But we're going to apply it today to some caregiving needs and issues. I really also want to say there's a ton of brand name things in this presentation. I tried to push them to the margins a little bit, but we're really not endorsing. We don't get any, funds from any companies to do this. We're not endorsing a particular product over another or their company. But I really just kind of wanted to throw some words into your vocabulary, so really to promote your search tolerance, because you're going to walk around here with more ideas that you have to kind of research. So I wanted to be able to reduce your stress a little bit in that. All right, let's jump right in. Safety, safety, safety. When I'm coaching families or when we're working with caregivers, our number one rule is safety. And I kind of grouped these into some obvious categories: location trackers and motion sensors. So these are things that could be anything from Life 360 to a specific motion tracker, location tracker product. I'm in Connecticut, and in Connecticut right now we have a new program through the state called Bring Me Back Home. And that and some other state programs like we used to have, used to look like our old antennas on top of our roofs. Project Locate would be on, the state police helicopter. Some of these you have to be pretty close, like within a mile to find the person, but with new GPS technology, they're so much better at being able to pinpoint a person's location or at least get pretty close. So we have those things that are available and not too terribly expensive. I also recommend for some families motion sensors, and some of these can be hooked up to come right through location information on your phone so that you can get an alert. A lot of families struggle with that kind of, well, I don't think he would leave the house if I go to the grocery store, or, if we go shopping and I get distracted, will he wander off or will she all of a sudden forget where we are and get distracted by saying hi to the children? Um, some of the resources that are available out there just gives you that peace of mind. So that, and this is not specific always even to people with dementia. I have a family friend who has a person with a developmental disability, a child with an adult, well, now an adult child with an developmental and intellectual disability, and he has his whole home um, wired with cameras that have motion sensors in them so that he can leave for short periods of time without having to get her all dressed. She just wants to sit and watch, iCarly or something on the television. I know I'm kind of dating myself, but she does like iCarly. Um, and he wants to be able to go to the grocery store. He can check in and where is she in the house. My next favorite resource, medication. These are computerized medication boxes. There are all kinds of medication dispensers that are available on the market right now. These are specifically lockable, and they have them where they can spit them out. The problem here, the challenge is if your loved one does not want to take their medications, it can alert you as the caregiver that they weren't taken, but the person could still take them, throw them away, toss them down the sink, put them down somewhere and just forget where they put them and not take them again. So it's not foolproof. But for a person who is trying to remember to take multiple medications, and the times of day get confusing, or they might get in there and kind of meddle with them, these are wonderful resources. And as you said, as you can see, there are different kinds. There are some that are make the pills visible. For some of my clients, I feel that that can be more of a trigger because, if they're covered, then they can just kind of know that they're there when they need them. Next safety issue. two different kinds of issues here. Obviously, we've got stove issues and water issues. So there are automatic stove shutoffs both for electric and for gas. And they're not expensive, but they are a little technical sometimes to install. And auto shutoffs for water and anti-scalding. Now, I've had at least three clients in the last 2 years that have had to spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to redo their home because of mold from a flood that their loved one caused. They left the tub on, they put something in the sink and didn't even realize it. Sometimes it's not even intentional. And they were just running the water. One of them, so here where I live, we have wells and septic. So when there's a thunderstorm or a big storm coming, we all fill up our bathtubs so that in the event that we lose our power, we have water that we can use to flush the toilet because our wells are electric. So what happens then, one of my clients' husbands heard that there was a storm coming. It wasn't even a storm in Connecticut, but he was confused by the news. And so he filled up his tub and never turned it off. So he went to fill up the tub for very good reasons, but forgot to turn off the water. It went everywhere. It was a disaster. I had one client whose husband um, ruined the with a flood twice. And that's when she learned to kind of install some of these. There are simple monitors now. It may not stop every flood, but they really can stop it before it becomes total disaster that needs tens of thousands of dollars of repair and remodeling. The anti-scalding devices are really easy to use and install, or there are some that are very elaborate as well that you can actually attach to the pipes coming into the to the bathroom or to the kitchen. But so those things are available. And with most of the products that I'm sharing today, we do have everything from $30 to five to $10,000 and pretty much everything in between. So they're wide ranging. Fall detection devices. I mean, we all know the help, I've fallen and I can't get up buttons. They've really, the new generation of these products are much better, so that they not only have an SOS button, but they will automatically detect and report if a fall happens so that that person doesn't have to press a button to summon help. Some of those can go right to the caregiver's phone, or to a monitoring system. There are also a lot of folks who use their iWatch or their smart wearable watches. The challenge with some of those, I laughed when I read this when I was researching for this. Apparently, if you put in automatically your fall detection goes on when you are 55 or older when you're setting up your iWatch. And I did not know that. So now, that doesn't mean it's set up to necessarily report it to anybody. So last year when I fell and smashed my lower orbital floor, it did note the fall, but it didn't report it to anybody. Thank goodness, because it was embarrassing enough. I tripped going up the stairs, whatever. So, but this technology is still emerging and still growing. Um, with all of this high-tech stuff, we still get into, and I'm sure we're going to have conversations about it later when we get into an Alzheimer's Prepare at Home, um, the issue of personal privacy. How much do we want someone's actions and movements to be tracked, to be shared, to be reported on? A lot of my clients do not like the fact that their caregivers are tracking their every movement or have cameras in the home. It is really a trade-off. If that's the difference between staying in your home or your apartment and having to live in a senior living environment, a lot of my clients will say, fine, I'll put up with the cameras. So it's about having a conversation, though, I think a lot of the time we just have to respect their dignity and then remind them because they're not necessarily going to remember that conversation. So we need to say, yeah, mom, you're right. This is really invasive. And just like you said, this is better than having to go to Sally Sue's assisted living, whatever it is. Okay. Moving on, low-tech safety. There's a lot of resources out here for you. The Medic Alert Safe Return program is kind of our low-tech version of the trackers. This is not a program that's going to track someone, although Medic Alert does also have brand tracking programs as well. But the Safe Return program is really an alert bracelet. The system is set up so that if the person is either found or noticed to be missing from a safe environment, that system will help alert and report so that authorities can help find the person and locate them or return them to a safe caregiving environment wherever, whenever is needed. Um, Also, confounding locks. I use these all the time when I had kids, and I recommend them to families as well. You can take something that looks like a simple little box. It's a magnet, and behind the cabinet or the exit door, it unlocks then the magnet behind it so that the magnet, without the magnet, the door stays locked. That's fine, except if those magnets go missing, that's a problem. So we used to have, and you can get extra magnets because we used to lose them all the time. But they are big enough so that they can't be swallowed. That's the other. I mean, you could really use any kind of magnet, but the larger, chunkier ones are safer so that someone doesn't, especially if you're dealing with children or adults with intellectual disabilities, that they're not confused for something else. You can also do door exit knobs that you actually have to squeeze and turn and push at the same time, that are very simple or available, excuse me, online. What we want to be careful of is making sure that it doesn't look childlike or remind the person with dementia because we don't want them to feel like children. They're not children. They are adults with adult feelings and expectations, and they're going to get frustrated by these confounding locks anyway, so we don't want to add the insult to injury there. Grab bars, very, very, very important that you have these professionally installed. A physical therapist can help with that as well, and that may be covered by Medicare. So with grab bars, we have to have them anchored into a stud. It can't just be your towel bar. So many injuries happen in the bathroom because an older person is grabbing that towel bar to pull themselves up or to help themselves sitting. And what happens is they're not anchored appropriately and that person falls and hurts themselves. Grab bars also need to be personalized, usually, my husband's a physical therapist, to that person's height and to accommodate whatever limit they have in their shoulders. So you want to have it professionally evaluated for that. Also, we have a lot of people use bed rails for mobility. We do not recommend bed rails or side rails on the bed for a restraint person. There's a ton of research in healthcare, nursing home journals, etc., that shows that full bed rails actually increase risk of injury and that the injuries are more severe when a full side rail is used. We do use half rails or quarter rails for bed mobility to help someone turn in bed or have something to hold on to if you're providing personal care in the bed. Colored tape can help in a lot of ways, from marking areas where there might be a step in the home or certain things that you want to highlight in the home. Bath mats and skid resistant tub appliques are available and are much cooler looking than they were when we were younger. And you can even create your own designs on these to make the bathtub a little more interesting. That can be something that, again, the person with a memory problem can help design. So any way that we can include them in these decisions to implement resources is helpful. So mid-tech safety, obviously, and these are very expensive. The fitting or walk-in tubs that fill in while you're in there. There are some people who find these very uncomfortable because you have to sit in this tub naked while it starts to fill up. There are some new ones that have a high fill um, uh, uh, word finding difficulty, spout, or, they're high, they're fast filling. We'll just leave it at that. You can get a Johnny or even just a towel that they can wear while it's filling and then just simply remove it and launder it or let it hang to dry afterwards. But they are very helpful for bathing, for soaking. A lot of times, showers nowadays can be very difficult for some people, and it can be scary to have the water coming at them. We also use um, handheld water faucets. And those are very helpful. But this is something that if your family member loved tub baths, my husband loves a bath. I've always been a shower person. But for me, even now, getting into a tub is very uncomfortable. Getting out of a tub is nearly impossible. So I would definitely need something like this. And these now can actually fit if you have a stall shower space, they can fit in a very much tighter space than we used to have. The locks down here on the bottom, you can actually use keypad locks. The thing on the left is jelly drops. These are specifically created, they call them hydration candy, but I don't really think of them as candy. To me, I'm a texture person, so I'm not personally quite comfortable with these because it's a texture issue for me. Um, the texture isn't candy and it's not really like a gummy bear. They're just these kind of cross between a jello and a gummy bear, maybe. Jello and a gummy bear, but they're filled with fluid. So it's for hydration. So if you have one of these cups, it improves your hydration throughout the day. For people who are really limiting in their hydration or don't like drinking, or if they have fears that if I drink too much, then I'm going to have to pee all the time, or anything like that, or they just aren't water drinkers. I mean, most of us nowadays all have our water bottles next to us at all time. It's not always empty, but or I'm not always drinking it well myself. I'd never drink enough water. This is something that can actually help with that. And the taste isn't too bad. It's just a texture thing for me. Okay. Let's talk about an Alzheimer's prepared home. Motion detection smart cameras, like I mentioned, those cameras can be placed throughout the home. There is talk, especially with younger generations, where privacy is assumed to be a thing of the past, where those cameras may be everywhere, even in the bathroom, because that's one of the most dangerous rooms in the house. More accidents happen in the bathroom than any other room. I don't think our generation is really ready for bathroom cameras, but you never know. I think it's only a matter of time. Motion detection lights, the assisted living I used to be executive director at here in Connecticut. We had motion detection lights in each room and in the closets. A lot of people think, oh, yes, we need a night light or a night light in the bathroom, but they have them now that they're motion detected. Um, I like the ones you can actually get a small one to put just under the edge of the bed. So that as soon as the foot hits the floor, it has that light that comes on at foot level. Excuse me. Smart devices and smart homes. This is my goal. Someday I'm going to put this all together. Some people already have it. You can do, I'm going to spell it out, Alexa or Hey Google with your smart devices, and you can set up all kinds of routines. I had set up, okay, so on my phone, oops, you can't really see it because of my background here. Let me take my background off. No, I can't figure out how to do that while, oh, I'm just going to tell you about it. Okay, so I have the Alexa app, and in here I can set up, so if you just go down at the bottom, it'll have a picture of a house and then three lines. Click on the three lines. Routines is one of the things, and you can set your routines. I have a routine here that's called I'm home. And on this routine, I can just say when I walk in the door, Alexa, I'm home. Thank goodness no one's taught her how to spell yet. It will then play a flash news briefing, and then it will play relaxing music for 2 hours. I've set that. Then I also have one that says, whoops, good morning. My good morning routine includes um, when I say ALEXA, good morning, tell me something new, play a news briefing, and then, oops, this isn't the right one. Uh, wake up routine two. That's what it is. Tell me the current time, report the weather, and then play Bad Guy by Billie Eilish because that's the music that in the morning I can't stay in bed. It just makes me move. I also have one, this is my favorite, Calm My Dog. This is currently disabled, but whenever my dog barks, the ALEXA is always listening, of course. Whenever she hears my dog bark between 7 a.m. and midnight, it will say, Chloe, Chloe, come touch, which is part of her training. And then it plays music, calm, specific music to calm dogs for 30 minutes. And it will alert me that the dog is barking. Especially if you're living in an apartment or something like that, you may need to be aware of how often the dog is barking. So we can set up all of these things throughout the house, as well as Google Nest Hub, which can create all kinds of different routines in your house, including controlling your thermostat. There are also things called talking tiles, and they're very cool. They're like they look like yellow sticky pads or sticky note pads, and you can touch them and you can put on there like touch me or press me before you go out. And you can record an 80-second message. Hey, mom, remember to take your phone and your keys. Love ya, Pam. Something like that. Or hey, mom, it's Pam. I probably wouldn't write it like a note. You can also get tile stickers made by the same, I mean, Tile is a brand name, and you can put these little sticker on your remote, on the keys, on anything else that tends to go missing around the house. My Home Helper is a brand product that requires no interaction. Again, a little bit of an invasion in privacy, but it might be worth it. Requiring for no interaction required to have drop-in listening, especially if your loved one lives alone and they have some problems with sundown symptoms or they're complaining that I had a client once who believed that someone was trying to break into his bedroom window every evening. It turned out that when the street light went on, it cast a tree branch shadow that looked like a hand on his bedroom wall. So eventually we just chopped down that branch so that he would stop calling 911. But with that My Home Helper, you could actually listen in and hear what's going on in that kind of crisis moment. A stair lift, it used to be that they didn't go around different landings or curved staircases. They do. There are all kinds of resources for stair lifts, and again, they can range in price from a few $100s to tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the complexity and the length and quite honestly, the quality of the product. Low and mid-tech Al's prepared home. Universal remotes make it so much easier. Doesn't matter which remote it is. You can also get them simplified remotes, whiteboards for messages, for notices, for reminders, large face clocks with good contrast. It's really important that we use contrast, and we'll talk about that in the mid-tech here in a moment. So it can't just be dark letters on a gray background. That's going to be too difficult for dementia brains processing. With the date, with the temperature, you can get all different kinds of things integrated into your clocks. Diaries and journals. If your loved one was a journaler or kept a diary, have them continue to do that. Keep it in a safe location where they can refer back to notes that you've left or notes that they've left. Lift chairs. This was one of the things when we were taking care of my mother. Um, I was thinking constantly about, okay, we've got to lift her out of this chair because I have a bad back. I'm gonna hurt myself more. totally forgetting she's in a lift chair. And I'm like, oh, Pamela, what is the matter with you? So, then I sit there and let it stand her up, and then it was so much easier. And you can get them very simplified now. I don't know if Medicare still pays for a portion of them. Back in the day when I was a case manager, Medicare paid for like 80% of the motor because it was an assistive device. Obviously the fancy leather ones with cup holders, they may not pay for all of that, but again, 80% of the motor is better than nothing. Um, Color contrasting plates or placemats. One of the things that we know, and we'll kind of have this conversation now, is that depth perception and contrast, visual changes happen deep in the brain and not as late as we used to think. We used to think that this was a symptom of late stage dementia. We're now realizing that people spend a lot of time, and some of that pause or that look of confusion is because their brain is trying to compensate for the visual changes that happen, not in their eyeball, but in the parts of the brain that process visual stimuli. So we know that color contrast can help that. For instance, a lot of men struggle with missing the toilet. It's because we've got a white toilet seat on a white commode on a white floor with a white wall, and it's hard to find the target. Simply change the color of the toilet seat or get one of those lights that changes the color of the toilet bowl inside. All of a sudden, we have a reduced mess because they got a better target. Same thing with plates and placemats. If we have a white plate on a white table or some other color plate on a wood table, okay, the brighter the contrast, the better the contrast, the better they can find the food. In lots of senior living, we use, I think the brand is Fiesta ware. And it's great because it's a deep red or a deep blue. So it's something that no food would normally be, except maybe spaghetti sauce. But then you've got the pasta underneath it, maybe. But it gives good contrast. Um, Hoyer lift, Sarah. Oh, where am I going? Roomba. Okay. So a lot of times here, many people have those Roombas, those iRobot kind of vacuum cleaners. This is a wonderful way to help promote cleanliness in your family member's home. The hard part is if they aren't used to it, it's going to be hard to adapt to it. So I told my husband this year we should get one just so that when I have dementia later on in life, I'm used to it. We'll see. Maybe yes, maybe no. Full spectrum lighting is so good. A lot of us in New England deal and the Northeast deal with, and especially, even Alaska and other places where winter is long, have full spectrum lighting to help with that. There's research that also shows that full spectrum lighting can help reduce symptoms of the sundown syndrome, where people become a little restless, a little agitated, either side of twilight. So by changing the lighting, and again, this can become full tech, high tech, if we're using those smart bulbs that we can program the timing of. And when we start to control the lighting in the afternoon and evening, we're helping their circadian rhythms adapt to the light changes outside. Obviously, we're all sensitive to it, sensitive to it right now. If anybody's watching the recording of this, we are taping this or recording this on the Monday after the weekend that we changed the clocks. We're all a little logy, we're all a little tired and affected. But that's full spectrum lighting really can help. If your loved one has a pet, automatic pet feeders, automatic water bubblers are something that I do strongly recommend because their memories can't be relied on to change the water to feed the pet all the time. I mean, I don't have dementia and we have an automatic cat feeder. Um, we could do it with the dog because for some reason the dog that we have now that we rescued, I mean, she has a multitude of issues, but eating constantly is not one of them. It's the first dog in my whole life where the bowl will have food in it throughout the day. She doesn't just hork it all down like most of my dogs. Um, Lift systems. So when a person needs advanced care and can't go from a sitting to a standing position or bed to chair without help, caregivers often risk losing their own back. So a Hoyer lift or a Sarah lift can help. It's a mechanical lift that actually will help transfer a person. I will tell you that it is possible to use these with one person. I don't recommend it. Sarah lifts and some of the lifts that they now have for home use are a little bit easier, but a Hoyer lift, especially because you are literally putting this person in a sling and then the lift brings them over and puts them into the chair or into the bed. There's just too much that can go wrong. So we do recommend having two people to assist with that. My knees are shot, so we actually installed boosters under our toilets last year or maybe 2 years ago. This did require some high ingenuity on my husband's part. He's not, I mean, I mentioned he's a physical therapist, so installing equipment isn't something that's foreign to him, but this did require some special plumbing stuff. So, but it's basically instead of having a raised toilet seat, which to me can get kind of gross and germy, this actually raises the toilet from the lower part where it meets the floor. And it's so much easier on my knees, so much easier. Now all I need to do is install them everywhere in all of the public restrooms that I ever go to. Bidets, 2 stars next to this one. Bidets significantly can reduce the rate of urinary tract infections. I was trying to find some research, but I just ran out of time about bidets and the frequency of UTIs in Europe because they're everywhere in Europe. And they really do show, when properly used, that they can have a significant decrease in the number of UTIs. It just makes for better cleaning. Having said that, I do not have these yet in my house, but I probably will at some point. It's just much cleaner. Um, People who have them say it is life changing. Might be worth a chance. And that's not even people living with dementia. That's just normal everyday people who are, having conversations about these kinds of things. All right, high tech engagement. I'm sorry this is all so fast, but I am sensitive to our timing. Engagement. This is like my funnest part. This is or my favorite part because my husband and I wrote a book called Total Engagement, an arts-based guide to meaningful activities, growth and engagement for older adults or for adults. Doesn't have to be older, but we did specifically write it for older. So I love engagement. I love doing things that are meaningful, that are person-centered. A robotic pet might totally wig me out if I had a cognitive impairment. But I will tell you that all of the clients that I've ever seen who get them love them. This kind of goes along with the thoughts of baby doll therapy. The baby doll therapy, I don't fully personally endorse. It's very hard to monitor staff interacting with the baby doll. And I'm going to tell you and I have a client who we do use baby doll therapy for, and she has 2 babies, and they look like real babies. These dolls were over $100 each. They're very expensive, but they're very lifelike looking. Many times, my client will say, well, they're just dolls. But most of the time, she interacts with them as if they're babies. And for a woman who had 6 children and 9 siblings, this is very comforting for her. I do not feel baby doll therapy nor robotic pets would be universal, just like not everybody has a cat or a dog or a bird. So why would we think that pet therapy would be universal? We wouldn't. Baby doll therapy, same thing. There are some people who never have children and don't want children and are annoyed by children. I mean, I have children, but most other people's children annoy me. Anyway, um, not all of them. Um, so you can also get these pets that really do sound. This one purrs, and they make noises like and movements like a real animal. We did install for my mom the automatic camera-based bird feeders. We call it a squirrel feeder because that's all it really does record. But it comes right to my phone, and I can look on there and see the birds and have, I can tell you that on ours we have cardinals, we've caught bluebird, an eastern bluebird, juncos. We did have a chipmunk. What else? Sparrows, wrens, chickadees, a woodpecker or a flicker. So you get all different kinds of birds at this bird feeder with a camera. Very cool thing. A little more difficult to install, does require a Wi-Fi connection to work on your phone. Brain health is something that we should all be focused on. It is something that we all need to be doing more of. I did put two brands up here. They are so engaging for people. And what I love about these two particular brands is they are learning software so that if I have a hard time, like on Lumosity, if I can't do, and I have subscriptions to both. Um, if I can't do an activity, it brings it down to the last level. So I'm not just getting frustrated. So it helps me to try to improve, not just say, okay, Pam, you're an idiot. You can't get to level 35. MetaQuest 3S is a new virtual reality. They've had them different versions of them. But the MetaQuest is pretty cool. You can interact. You can set it up so that your avatar can socialize with the grandson's avatar, and meet in these virtual reality environments. Very cool stuff. MemLife and Autobiographer are two different apps that you can record your life story and have visual inputs as well. Very cool stuff. Mentia.me/about Mentia Companion. This may be one of the coolest high-tech things that I've seen so far. This is an AI derived companion on the screen or on a tablet, and it learns as it's going. So, and there are video demonstrations on this website, and that is the actual website link. Very cool. It is a subscription fee, but it's reasonable considering what it is. And your loved one can literally sit there and talk to a friend. It does look like an AI kind of derived friend, but it is very cool. And it gently will cut the person off if it's taking it into a direction that is kind of wandering and meandering. Like I said, there are demonstrations online. Very cool. Al's Buddy, Memory Lane Games, Nature Melodies, and SingFit are all things that I thought were so cool. I actually downloaded them onto my phone. Um, I believe each one of these is free. Memory Lane Games may not be. I don't really recall. SingFit is the coolest thing for me personally. SingFit is you can do it either as a session where you are doing kind of karaoke, or you can do it just to sing along. What I like about this is that when you do a start session, you press the button and you have a goal. So today's goal: reduce anxiety, reduce depression, reduce agitation, reduce apathy, increase energy, promote relaxation, improve cognitive engagement. I can press any or all of these. Let's say reduce depression and increase at, oh no, you can only do one at a time. My mistake. Increase energy. Said I need that today, but okay. So then it downloads and it wants to know, and it asks you to judge, where's Pam's energy level now? How involved was Pam in daily activities today regularly? So they create then a list of 6 songs, excuse me, 6 songs, and it's going to start with Tomorrow from the musical Annie. And it then has a lyric coach. I personally find this so annoying. The lyric coach comes on and says the lyrical phrase right before it comes in. So you can toggle that all the way off. You can have a guide singer, background music, and you can adjust the playback speeds. And you can skip the song. So like the next song is, oops, Baby, I Love Your Way by Peter Frampton. Doesn't quite go with Annie. You can randomly pick things. You can create your own playlists and personalize it 100%. Very, very cool. This is like what we used to put in the headphones, only it's now all on an app and much more interactive. Very cool. All's Buddy. I'm trying to remember what All's Buddy is. All's Buddy, another very cool app on my phone right now. Oh, this is very cool. So you can do games, you can review pictures, you could do daily checklists, you can play things that are music sounds or others. You can do actual songs like groovy songs, vibrant songs, classical music, holiday music, or other entertainment, speeches, karaoke, meditation, and inspiration, favorites, or nature. So I can just come on here and do North American animal sounds, and it has a little guy and a little video, and it comes right into my phone. So cool. Nature Melodies actually is a very simple app that just does various nature sounds. And what was the last one? Oh, Memory Lane Games. This is again another favorite. I'm so excited about these things. I swear I'm not getting any money from these companies. This is an award-winning uh, cognitive engagement activity app. How it works, there are all kinds of things here. You can it will recommend relevant games. So you pick, what are your favorite things? Film and TV, geography, sports, or art, food, hobbies. There are tons of things to pick from, and then it just picks from, let me say, music, continue. Then it will ask a couple of questions. Where did I grow up? Hebron, Connecticut. Okay, and I just put that in. And you can put in a couple of different things. I also lived in Chicago, Illinois, and then continue. And then it will have information trivia about Connecticut, songs from the 60s, because it knows that's one of my favorites. Okay. This one, like I said, is a membership app, but it's got everything, fairy tales, US license plates, everything in between. Very cool apps. So engagement abounds on this high-tech stuff. Low tech, Arthur the Musical Bear. It's a stuffed animal. It doesn't look like a real bear, which is good because it could be scary, but it does have a musical player inside, some of which you can personalize. Card games, simple games, Uno. A lot of my clients, even when I had a memory cafe, love Uno. In my family, we're a little competitive. We like Uno Attack, which requires batteries, but when you press the button instead of drawing a card, it may or may not spit out a whole bunch of cards at you. Lots of fun. We usually play it at dinner. The cards get a little dirty. It's okay. We can clean them. I have clients that will have a deck of cards. If a person played cards, they'll like this. One of my clients has the wife pick 3 cards, and then she has to memorize them for the day. And throughout the day, he'll say, okay, well, what were the 3 cards? Now, she can usually remember 3. So starting, I think this Friday, he's going to increase her to 4 cards. And he thought of this just by having her do the Montreal Cognitive Assessment at the doctor's order office because she couldn't repeat back 5 random items. The hard part with this for helping brain health is that if you're good at cards, you're good at numbers. And people who are good at numbers are always good at memorizing numbers. It's harder to memorize random nouns. But every little bit helps, right? Also, they can sort them by suits, sort them by colors, sort them by numbers, etc. Sort them from highest to lowest or lowest to highest, sort them by numbers versus face cards, etc. There's lots of different sorting things that you can do to engage someone. Age appropriate, and I really want to emphasize this again with dignity in mind. Age appropriate coloring sheets. Notice coloring books is not what I'm saying. There are adult coloring books, which always makes me think it's porn related, so I hate saying that as well. But I like to refer to them as coloring sheets. It's more age appropriate. With implements of their choice. They might like colored pencils. They may like the watercolor pencils, which are actually beautiful, or markers or crayons are okay, again, as long as that's their choice. What I look for in low tech engagement is, are they approaching it or are they avoiding it? Are you seeing actions that engage them, or are they kind of turning a blind eye to it? Set out a couple of different options and let them choose. Then you know what their preference is. For later stages, I love these products. They are water paints or aqua paints. You can get them at your favorite craft stores or at online. And literally all they do is they are different kinds of boards or heavy sheets, and you use a water and a paintbrush. Or you could use a dauber and a paintbrush or a sponge and water, excuse me, a sponge and water. And when water hits it, it will unveil the colored painting and it will then dry and you can reuse them again. Very cool stuff, especially for that later stage. Mid-stage engagement. I already talked about Alexa routines, and I put here on the slide, as you can see, what the trigger is. You can do voice, you can do a time of day, you can set an alarm, you can do a location, when we get to the train station, this is what I want the phone to say. You can hook it up to a home smart sensor or just have a programmable button. And you can do all kinds of different activities. There are also talking phone books or, excuse me, photo albums. Very cool. There is also Lane TV. This is a not very expensive, no install required subscription service. What I love about this is there's a whole caregiver channel that has different caregiver tips and hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of television programming, majority of which is plot free. That's really important for a certain stage where it's hard to follow a plot and they're not as engaged with it, accordingly. So it does have a whole channel of old style television programs, but the plot-free TV is what I think is really some of the coolest stuff. High tech, easing the care. So now we're kind of getting into what makes caregiving easier. Air tags or tiles are a must. We just as caregivers get so frustrated when something disappears again. So we can make it easier by putting a tag on it or a tile. There are also care coordination programs, Caring Village or lotsahelpinghands.com. These are programs and services that we used as caregivers when we had my mom come home on hospice. It made it so much easier. Who's bringing, I mean, I think if you do meals only, you can do like it's called Meal Train. There are different kinds of resources, but it's also, you can put it in a calendar where someone can see, okay, on this date, they're going to need more food or they've got a full freezer at this point. There are also great apps for caregivers that I recommend. Headspace, Calm Harm is a wonderful resource I recommend for all of my clients. It was actually created for people with borderline personality disorder to help them get through the impulse to harm themselves. I love it just to reduce anxiety, to enhance calm, to help distract a brain that won't turn off. Because when our brains don't turn off, that's actually because the amygdala is on overload. It's an almond-sized piece of your brain, very deep in the brain, but it's very hard to turn off. The part that turns it off is the frontal lobe, but we have to engage that frontal lobe. And Calm Harm has hundreds of activities to help you with that. Insight Timer is a great free one that is out there that will help with meditation and calming music, and help you with all kinds of different sounds and noises to control your environment when you have a moment to be calm. When, not if, you'll find. Okay, easing the care low tech. So I'm going to I'll come back to that at the end. There's lots of low tech activity things that are caring activities, caring resources that we can use. Reachers, one of the OT's favorite things. Some of them are magnetic. They just have a grabber kind of thing. You can reach for something on the top shelf. You can reach for something that's fallen on the ground. It's wonderful. I didn't require my mom to have them in her office or in her room. We just had them throughout the house. Um, Food or eating adaptations, you can get a plate guard. You can get fancier plates that are actually built with a side up. Either way, they're totally fine to help someone be independent, feeding themselves as long as possible. weighted cutlery, and you can get some that are actually just like silver looking that are weighted, or those easier grips for people with arthritic hands also are very helpful again to help someone be able to feed themselves as long as possible. Adaptive clothing is absolutely essential when they need assistance putting on their clothing. It's not essential, but my goodness, it'll make your life a lot easier. Excuse me. I put some resources up there. Um, some companies, excuse me, that specialize in some of the adaptive clothing. So sorry. I don't usually talk this much this long. Pam, Stephanie, and a couple of other you on the phone call who know me think that's funny. Ugh, excuse me. And now I'm at the point where my eye is actually tearing. I'm so sorry. Adaptive clothing, you can get a shirt that is a wraparound with a snap at the shoulder. It just makes it easier, especially if they have impaired or impingements in their shoulders. Dining scarves, I love. I hate bibs. And we can call them clothing protectors. It's still a bib. But I wear a scarf a lot. And I like being able to throw my scarf, as long as it's durable, into my laundry if I get food on it. Obviously, the scarf I'm wearing right now would not be a good dining scarf because it also has it could get stained. So it's not just any scarf. These are specialty dining scarves. Um, a lot of the adaptive clothing now has magnets. And I put some stars there just to remind people that if you have a pacemaker or deep brain stimulation box, that you may not be able to use magnets. So just be aware of that. Okay, I'm going to stop the sharing here for a second and take off my video screen because no filter, no filter. Okay, I wanted to share with you my hair today is brought to you by a no rinse soap product. Again, tons of these online. This one contains aloe vera, vitamin E, and provitamin B5. I don't know what that does for my hair, but my hair feels good. Um, Popped it in the microwave for 20 seconds, as it says on the directions. Put this on, and I was telling Pam at the beginning, I even found that it got off some makeup that I must have missed at my hairline last night. Put the shower cap on. I have medium length hair, shoved it all underneath, and it's got a kind of a soft wipe inside of it with no rinse shampoo and conditioner product in there. I put it on for 3 minutes, massaged it in, and my hair feels great. Absolutely great. It doesn't feel greasy. It feels like when I normally do my hair in the shower. Absolutely fine. And the curl in it is great. I love it. Now, I will tell you though that I was freezing. So it is something to keep in mind that when you use these no rinse soap products, and I'm talking about even after I had, well, after I had taken it off, obviously because it was warm when it was on. You don't have to warm it up, but having wet hair, especially if you're just sitting, I had to have my heater on, which is probably why I'm losing my voice. But these products are wonderful. There are also, let me go back to sharing here. There are also, okay. So there are also no rinse soap products. There are no rinse wipes. I tell you, I have them right here. So this is a bath in a bag. Again, you can simply pop that in the microwave or you don't have to. And it cleans and moisturizes and soothes the skin. It's pH balanced, hypoallergenic, and it's CHG compatible. What's amazing about this, and I don't even know what that means, but What's amazing about these is research shows that a person's hygiene can be maintained using only no rinse soap products for over 3 years. And 3 years was just the end point of the study. So there are those. There is a glove shampoo that is rinse-free as well. Rinse-free soap product, uh, foaming body wash and shampoo. So it's a two-in-one here. When my mom came home on hospice, we had one of the like plastic drawers that we had set up, and it was like an executive size. So it wasn't just like a regular filing cabinet size, it was wider with different drawers in there. And so we would put all the no rinse soap products in one, we put gloves in another drawer, we had her eating utensils in another, and had that right next to her bed so that when we were doing her care or helping her out, everything was within an arm's reach. And that helped immensely. No tech at all. Oops, am I? Oh, we do. Okay. So, mid-tech easing the care. Weighted blankets. I don't know if there's any research, maybe Steph or some of the other research folks on the call know, but weighted blankets, I believe that there, and I've thought this for a long, long time, that there is a sensory processing issue that happens when people have cognitive impairments and progressive dementia. Weighted blankets are proven to be helpful for people with sensory processing issues. And I will tell you, especially my clients with frontotemporal or Lewy body dementia respond very well with weighted blankets. Um, I don't know why, and like I said, I don't know if there's been any formal research. Maybe somebody on the call can answer that when we get to the Q&A. But they really do make a big difference. They can be very expensive. The poundage that I've seen most effective are like 15 to 20 pounds. So those, it's not just like a weighted blanket like you might just see on a wholesaler online, I'll say. Some of these are more mid-tech. It's again not high tech, but it's not your run-of-the-mill thing that you're going to get at a big chain store. Um, Magic cups. So my mom got to the point where she wasn't able to keep anything down, and these are um, can be very high protein, more so than your usual pudding, but it's more like a frozen pudding dessert, and it's the only thing that she ate for the last 2 weeks of her life. And it was satisfying to her because she didn't like some of the other, you know, let's say high protein shakes or those kinds of things. She didn't like those at all. But this she didn't mind at all. Okay, resources. Where do you find this stuff? I'm sure that's a million of the questions in the chat. Take some of the language here that I just put gave you and Google it or put it in your favorite search engine. That's your first start. Amazon and other online retailers, obviously, there is a place called the Owls store. Some of these you can get on them. I will tell you their prices tend to be a little bit higher than if you were to just go to the regular store, but it's a nice central kind of clearinghouse for Alzheimer's specific products, and they offer things by stage or by issue. Like I said, Buck and Buck, Silverts .com, jellydrops.us, and of course, call us at CaringKind. Our helpline folks have a lot of resources and we can share this. These slides will be available afterwards. If you missed part of it, you can always go back and check it after it's posted online. I believe that's the end. Yes. So remember, you can call our helpline, talk to a navigator. If this opened up ideas, you think, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I'm ready for cameras in my house. Call us, talk to a navigator, talk about your options. And remember, we're here for you. All right, Miss Pamela, the other Pam, where are we for questions? Hmm. Okay. I don't know if she's with us. She maybe got pulled somewhere else. Someone put here, Karen, thank you for putting this in your in the chat that your health data from your health Apple Health app will automatically populate to the emergency response center in your town if you call 911, including emergency contacts. Not sure if it works for Android phones. Okay, so let's feel free, Sheldon, is it Tiker or Teicher? Feel free to take yourself off mute and give us your question.
Teicher is the name.
Teicher, thank
So,
you.
yes. You didn't mention any of those new catheter systems that hospitals are using.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a great one. Thank you. Do you remember the name of it?
yeah, it's
PureWick. PureWick.
oh dear, forgot
The
the name.
PureWick system.
PureWick.
The
Yes,
PureWick system is wonderful. I
yes,
will tell you that PureWick, when my mom was in the hospital for 2 straight months, was phenomenal. When we brought her home, we're like, that's definitely what we're going to do. They are so ridiculously expensive.
yes, they
I
are.
just was shocked, but they are
$600 and
fantastic.
six hundred
Yeah.
dollars initial cost, and then
Yep.
about $550 a month, which
For the
is
Wiccan.
ridiculous. It is.
It
It
is
really.
ridiculous. My hope is that more baby boomers start to age and require and demand these. There will be
Yeah.
more competitors in that space, and it'll drive the price down. So
I mean
that's my hope.
that is a valuable item to prevent
Absolutely.
falls. I just
Absolutely. Falls and infections.
it falls
Absolutely
on
wonderful.
infants. Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Thank you
yes.
for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, let's go to Joellen. Hi, Joellen.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I actually I have my own question, but a follow-up from the
Sure.
previous question. What is that PureWick? I didn't.
Oh, sure. So sorry. So a
Yeah.
PureWick system, it's like if you combine the thought of a catheter, non-invasive, with a female urinal, it's helpful for especially for females. It basically it looks like it's a curved shape, so it fits the female anatomy a little easier. And it collects the urine, wicks it out through a tube. So like you know how a catheter runs out and externally takes it through a tube and puts it in a container? That's what this does. So it mechanically through suction sits in the female anatomy out externally so that when a person urinates, it takes and wicks out the urine and it goes into this container.
Ah,
Very cool. Obviously, the container has to be changed regularly, but it's also really good if you have someone who's on fluid restrictions or if they're trying to measure their urine intake and output. It really does help give a measure of that without having um, to have them be into a hat or anything on the toilet. So that's what
okay.
that is.
My own question was those talking tiles. Could you expand on that? What are they?
Yes.
How do you use them?
Very, very simple. They're about the size of, you can get different sizes, but this is my remote for my space heater. They're about this size, or they can be round or whatever, and you just push them, and it gives you that recorded message. So it could be something that you attach to the door frame or next on the wall next to the door that says "Push me before you go out," and you can write on the tile what you want it to say. And so it could be in the bathroom on the counter. Don't forget to take your meds, something like that. And they're
Uh-huh.
very simple to use.
And the person will remember to press it.
No guarantees on that, Joellen.
Okay. Okay.
But it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Low
Hi,
tech of that would be that yellow sticky, right?
Where would I find that? A
If
talking
you,
time?
yeah, if you just go online and Google talking tiles.
Oh, okay.
hi Pam. I want to
Hi.
say I'm back. Our internet went down.
Oh,
And it's
geez.
an opportune moment. So we do have another question in the chat
Yes.
here, which you may be able to see better than I, but how to pick up a person after a fall.
Ooh,
It's a tough
okay.
one.
I believe excuse me, I've got my dog visiting me here. Hi, Chloe, say hi. Um, every person who's a caregiver should really work with a physical therapist to learn how to do this. Um, because there are different strategies on how to do that. Men and women have different anatomies, obviously, we know that. A woman's center of gravity is at her hips. So, and a man's is in his shoulders. So, a physical therapist would instruct you, first of all, if a person is on a floor, you may not want to move them. You need to assess them for injury first, especially if they've fallen and broken a hip or broken a bone, different bone. But, and I've done it many times myself, when someone falls, um, and they need to get up, the first thing to do is if they are able to have them sit and bend their knees so that their feet are flat on the floor. And then what you want to do is take them. It's hard to describe because I want you to protect your backs. Your feet go against their feet so that it's um it's blocking their feet from sliding out from under them. Um, and you really want to go for waist space, the waist area, and pull them up. And what I usually do is a rocking motion first, and a 1 and 2 and 3, and take that momentum. A lot of people in care homes will use gait belts, and that way you're kind of taking them up by the belt, but you can also use the waistband of their pants. Um, if they're on the ground and injured, it might be best, like I said, to just leave them there and call 911 for a lift assist. There are, for men, it may be easier because their um, center of gravity, like I said, is more in their shoulders, to have them hug you, but that can be difficult again, depending on your back. So I recommend working with a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, but usually a physical therapist to help demonstrate that for you and teach you some strategies. Good question.
We
Okay.
are just about time. Thank you so much. We are a
A
little
pleasure.
past time. I think there are a couple of one more question if
Yep.
Nidhi is still here. And we understand that people have to go, a lot of people tuning in on their lunch hour. So thank you all so much for being here. A question about the frontal lobe and
Mhm.
something in the back of the head, if you can elaborate on that.
Sure. So deep in the brain is the amygdala. It's a piece of your brain that's about the size of an almond, very deep in your brain. And it controls your emotions, your fight or flight, all of those kinds of reactions. And it makes you panic. It's when we talk about somebody having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, it's because their amygdala is hypersensitive at the time. It's very hard to control. The only thing that can really override it is the frontal lobe of the brain. And that's the part of the brain where we might do multiplication tables or look around us and what I call a five finger, not I call, it's what we in mental health call a five-finger grounding strategy. 5 things you see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, or yes, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can taste, 1 thing you can smell. Those kinds of things use this part of your brain, and when you are focused on that, it turns off your amygdala, which is that panic center. So if your loved one is feeling anxious, you can distract them by using frontal lobe activities to do that. One of my clients does the 17s table, like multiplication tables, because you really have to think in order to figure that out. She then memorized that and had to move to the 18s and 19s tables. So if your brain gets to the point where it memorizes that, then it's not using your frontal lobe, it's just rote memory. So I hope that's helpful.
Great. Thank you so much, Pam.
My
Thank you for
pleasure.
this comprehensive offering today. We did put the slides in the chat so people can access them directly, and we'll post them
Great.
to our website afterwards as well.
Super.
And the video will go up there in the next few weeks as well. Thank you so much. If you can call our helpline anytime, 9 to 5 is our helpline hours, so feel free to give our helpline a call. I put it in the chat in the beginning today that you can reference. Unfortunately, I'm not able to add it now because I'm here from my
Well, I can
phone.
put it
But
in.
please, okay, great.
We did have
Pam.
it on the slide as well.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so
So
it's
yeah, so it will
646.
be in the slide.
All right, that's the number for our helpline. And yes, if people want to reach out to me personally, it's atwooddementiagroup.com. My phone and my email are on there.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a,
everybody.
have a great day.
Thanks.